What should we be teaching young people? Are GCSEs obsolete? Are we teaching kids what they need to know? Katie is a psychologist, which throws an interesting light on this. Morning, Katie.
Good morning, Jim. Hiya.
Morning. What do you think about this?
I think what we need to realise is two really important points. One, the world has completely changed. And unfortunately, I don't think the education system has caught up. So children and young people have access to information as soon as they need it. And unfortunately, a lot of it's not true. So really helping young people understand how to check whether something's a reliable source, how to problem solve, how to understand, is a really, really key part of them being able to go through life and not get caught up in all the fake news. And the second point is that our young people are more mentally unwell than ever before. They're facing a huge identity crisis. And, most young people that I've worked with, the key part of the work is putting them back together, helping them recognise, what things they like, what things they don't like, maybe where they want to go in the future. And I think our education system is still stuck in rote learning to get people into university, but the problem is when people come out of university, there are no jobs. So we put so much pressure on young people to get through the education system, and they still end up in bars and shops afterwards. And this isn't me knocking bars and shops, that's where I started. So It's a valuable skill, but it's just, it's not adequate for how society is now. And I think we need a radical overhaul to stop our young people becoming even more unwell and to stop our young people falling into the fake news trap.
Let's take those two things separately. Let's take the first one. I mean, essentially what you're talking about is things like media studies, media literacy, soft skills, the sort of things which, when it's been proposed, are taught more in schools, get the old buffers on their hind legs saying that's not proper education.
Yeah. I mean, the BBC have been running the Back in Time for School programme.
Yes.
And when you look at the responses of the children, when they were learning bricklaying, they were learning the farming, they were learning all the things that they're sat there going, well, this is useful. So why can't we take that on board? And I'm not saying we do the 11 pluses and we force people into jobs, but allow young people to explore, to find out what they're interested in. And that's how we make a better society, because everybody's doing something they love, they're passionate about, and then all the jobs get filled.
Just thinking about back in time at school, I had a real shock actually, because I dipped into the last episode of that at the moment where they're all going on a school trip, and they're going on a school trip on a Midland Red single decker, which was the bus I used to go to school on. And seriously, it was like, as if you thought the Daleks were frightening. Seriously, I'd have been behind the sofa in a minute. The thing about young people's mental health, young people's mental well-being, is to what extent do you think the way that they are being taught, or the emphasis on exams, is contributing to that?
In my personal opinion, and in my professional opinion from working with young people for the last 4.5 years, is I think it's a major contribution. If you're an adult and you go away for a training day, you're exhausted after one full day of learning. We send children in that environment every single day, then we send them home and they have more homework to do. They are socially isolated. Yes, they use their mobile phones, but we know that using a mobile phone isn't the same as being able to interact with people. It's just set up for and it just makes no sense, because 99% of the stuff that I learned in school I never used. I just didn't. Like I'm useless at geography, but I still had to do 5 years of it, and I'm never ever going to use it. And if I do need to go somewhere, there's Google Maps. Or I'm useless at maths, but I've got a calculator. So instead of teaching young people random subjects that used to be important, what's important now is we're facing a food shortage, we're facing conflicts, and the point of education is supporting our young generation to be able to support us adults when we're older, and we're just teaching the same stuff that we learned, and we've ended up creating a bit of a mess. So we need to kind of look at what we're teaching them so that they can, fix all of our mistakes, essentially, I guess.
So we need to equip them so they don't turn out as badly as we have.
Absolutely. The diets, if you look at young people, they don't drink like our generation. They make healthy food choices, but that's not because we're educating them. That's because they're trying to go out and find the information. They're starting to recognize things, and we're behind.
And we're not, and you say we're not equipping them properly to find that information and make those choices. They're teaching themselves to do it.
Yes, and unfortunately, if nobody helps you understand the difference between an internet site that's popped up overnight and something like Encyclopedia Britannica, and I'm grateful to my mum because she wasn't somebody who had a massive knowledge and a great intelligence. This is not me saying she's unintelligent, but she couldn't answer a lot of our questions when we were doing homework, and she just would used to go and get us an encyclopedia or get us a dictionary or take us to go and find the information. So we've all learned you go and find, but also how to find good information. And we're not
find the right information.
Yeah, and we're not teaching children that at all. We're just teaching them that somebody in a position of power is telling them the answers, and they need to replicate it. And that is the recipe for disaster. That is how genocides have happened. That is how just horrific things happen. Is we put somebody in a position of power and we say what they're telling you is right, and now you replicate it, and that's what we're doing.
That's a really powerful point. Taking widening out in that way. That's fantastic. Katie, thank you very much for that. Just one thing, you said that 99% of the stuff you remembered that you were taught at school you don't need now.
Yes.
Is there one random fact or something that you learned in school that even if you don't need it, you can't forget it? Random knowledge from school.
Yes, it's a bit of philosophy. It's all tomatoes are red, but not all red things are tomatoes. Helping you recognise that just because two things are the same doesn't mean that they're the same, kind of. I probably butchered that, and apologies to the person who told me that, but that's how I remember it, and it helps me not get trapped into just because these two things look similar or these two things are the same, they're not always the same.
All tomatoes are red, but not all red things are tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's actually really useful.
It's probably the only reason I've remembered it.
That's why it's stuck in your mind. Katie, thank you so much for that.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jim.
Cheers, Katie. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.